Hello everyone, my name is Nicholas from Exolvate Games team and welcome to a new C++ Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we are in part 6 of making Spatial Inventory System. In the previous part we have made the logic for adding the visual representation of the items into our inventory in order to be able to see what items we have in our inventory. In this part we are going to create a logic for drag and dropping items to the ground, so I think that I don't have anything else to say, so let's get started. Okay guys, welcome back to part 6 of making a Spatial Inventory System. In this part we are going to create the logic for drag and dropping the items that we have in our inventory. So yeah, we can start with the work right now. The first thing that we need to fix, and I'm going to show you, basically is this thing right here. If I pick one of my items and if I try to drag them, you will see that I'm able to move the camera of my third-person character, and that is not something that we want. Okay, so we need to go straight to code editor and fix that. Okay, so we need to go to our inventory widget header, and we need to basically declare a new override function. So just type virtual void, or actually not void but f reply. Okay, so f reply native on mouse button down. Okay, and there are a few parameters that we need to pass in. I'm going just to copy and paste them, but and also I'm not going to explain them because they are not important now. You can basically find the documentation for this function right here and learn more about them. So yeah, the next thing that we are going to do is basically create a definition for our native on mouse button down function. And the thing that we need here to return will be basically just from f reply we need to get candled. Okay. And now, if we go to our Unreal Engine and compile our code, okay, actually build will fail. Let me see why. Your inventory widget. I actually did something wrong. I don't know what it is. So let's go to our code editor. Let's actually close our Unreal Engine, and I'm going to build code here in Visual Studio. Okay, so there's not any errors. Okay, so now let's test it out. Okay, so if I try to pick my item and then if I try to drag it, you will see that I'm not able to basically change the position of a camera that is around my playable character, but I'm actually able to move, but that is actually something that we want for now. If you don't want that, you can also fix that, but that is not point right now. But if you take a closer look, my mouse is not actually disappearing, and I'm able to see my cursor. Yeah, so yeah, we fixed that. The next thing that we are going to do is basically we are going to declare some new functions for when we are hovering on our item. So basically when I'm hovering on it, it will just get some whitish color. So yeah, it will basically show us that we are hovering that. Okay, so let's do it right now. Let's go to our code editor, and we need to do that here inside the item widget header. So let me just see my other project. Okay, and we need to basically declare two new override functions. So the one will be when we hover on our item, and basically the other one will be the opposite. So yeah, we are going to do that here below this refresh under protected. Okay, and we need to type virtual void native on mouse enter. Okay, so there are a few parameters that are less important now. Like I said, you can find documentations, original documentations for these functions, and you can learn more about them. And we are going to declare basically a second function, and that will be a native on mouse leave. Okay, and also there are a few parameters that I'm just going to copy and paste from my other project. Okay, just like that, and we're going to create the definition for them. So right click, let's first do that for our on mouse center. Okay, so create a definition, and let's do that for our second function. So just create a definition. Okay, so now let's first create logic for our native on mouse center function. So first we need to basically, because it is override function, we need to type super native on mouse enter. Okay, and we need just to pass in this in geometry and this in mouse event. Okay, and we need to do that for our native on mouse leave. Okay, so on mouse leave, and we need to pass in just this in mouse event. Okay, so now inside our native on mouse enter, we need to get this background border, and we're just going to change his color. So just to get the reference of that border, and then paste it like this. Now we need this minus greater sign, and we need to type set brush, but we're actually not getting that function because we need to include basically a border. Okay, so we are going to do that right now. We need to type hashtag include, and then inside our components folder we are just going to search for border.age. Okay, and our red line has disappeared. We need a function that is called setBrushColor, and it is taking in the variable that is a type of f-linear color. So you can basically create a separate variable for that color. Okay, so I'm just going, like I said, to hard code it. It will be a type of f-linear color. And we need to set 0.0 Don't forget this f, because it needs 3 values, so that will be float. Okay, 0.0f. So these 3 values are giving us the black color, and it will be of opacity 0.2f, and we're just going to copy and paste that same line of code here on the native on mouse leave, but we are going to increase our opacity to be 0.5, and I'm going again to actually close my Unreal Engine, and I'm going to build my code. Okay, so actually I need to do that again, and let's see if there's any errors. Okay, so there aren't errors. Let's now launch the Unreal Engine. Okay, so let's see what we did now. So if I pick one of my items, if I hover on my item, yeah, you will see that it is basically changing the color of our border, and basically it is showing us that we are hovering on that item. So cool. Now let's go to our code editor. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do will be basically the dragging of our item inside our grid inventory, or basically spatial inventory. So we need to declare, let me see, we need actually two new override functions. So let's go to our .header file, and we're just going to get some space here. Okay, The first one will be basically a function that is returning nothing. Okay, so it will be a native on drag detected. Okay, so basically, like the name is saying, basically the function override function that is detecting the dragging of our item widget. Okay, and we're just going to type here override because this is override function. And again, I'm going to basically paste in the parameters so that we need in order to get our in order to use our override function. So I'm just going to copy and paste them from my other project, but you need to pause video and type them. Okay. And basically, like I said, you can just check out the documentation for these functions where you can learn more about them. And the second function for now will be basically also an override function, and that function will just return the f reply, and we're just it is called native on mouse button down. So basically, this function override function right here. In this function, we are going to bind basically the button with which we are going to drag our items. So you get to the point in this situation, it will be basically the left mouse button. So with the left mouse button, when we are holding our left mouse button and also hovering on our item, we are going to be able to drag them. Okay, so you get the point. And I'm going to pass in the parameters. Okay, so pause the video and type them. Now let's create a definition for these two functions. Okay, and let's do that for our second function. Okay, and the first thing that we are going to do is basically, let me see, we need because this is an override function, we need to type super. Okay, native on drag detected. Okay, and we are going just to pass in these parameters. Okay, so just like this, and the last one will be out operation. Okay. And let me see in my other project something. Okay, so now let's actually bind our dragging to our button that we want, and the way that we are going to do is here on the return we are going to type f reply, and we are going to get the handled, and we need to basically get dot detected drag. Okay, so we are going to type here take widget, and here we need to specify the key which are going to basically do the drag logic for our items. So we are going to get that from e keys enumeration. Okay, so e keys enumeration, and I'm going just to type left mouse button, so you can pass in some other button, I don't know, but I think that the left mouse button is makes most logic. Okay, so now let's just here on the native on drag detected, let's print a string to see if actually our dragging of our item widget, or basically the item that we have in our inventory, is working. So g engine, and then add on screen debug message. So -1, just 5 seconds. The color will be, let's say, red. Okay, like always. And the text that we are going to print will be basically just drag detected. Okay, so I'm going to basically close my Unreal Engine. I'm going to build my code. Okay, so we don't have any errors, and let's launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, and if we open our inventory and pick one of our items, okay, and if we try to drag it, yeah, actually you will see in the top left corner that our print string is showing, and it is basically saying drag detected, so our drag logic is working. Now we need basically to write some more lines of code in order to get the behavior of dragging our items that we want. Okay, we are just going to delete this print string, and the first thing that we are going to do is basically get our background border of our item, and we're just going to get the set brush color function. Okay, so that is that is the same function that we used here. So we are just going to change the color of our border. Okay, and we are just going to pass in this standard color. Okay, and I will say it. You can play with these options. If you find some better options, you can basically just set them up, and yeah, so you can play with the options in order to get the behavior or basically the look of your inventory that you want. Okay, the next thing that we need to do, let me see my other project. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is basically the dragging of our item. So when we drag our item, it will basically drag with our item, or basically the visual representation of the item in our inventory. So if you don't understand it now, I'm going to show you in a moment what we are doing. Okay. The first thing that we need to do is basically create a new drag and drop operation instance. Okay, so we need to type drag drop operation, and we need, I'm going to name it basically drag operation. Okay, and we need to type equals new object drag drop operation. Okay, and just like that. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is basically set the default drag visual to the current widget, or basically this widget right here. So in order, when we are dragging the current widget that basically we are on hovering it and basically holding the left mouse button on. Okay, so we are just going to get this drag operation, and we need this minus greater sign because this is a pointer, and we need to get but before that we need basically to include our drag drop operation in order to use the function that are inside that class. Okay, so include, we're going to find it inside our blueprint folder, and drag drop operation. Okay, and now we need to get this drag drop. Okay, we need to type minus greater, and we need to type default drag visual equals to this. Like I said, we are going basically to the visual representation that we are dragging will be this widget right here. So yeah, you get to the point, and in order to do that we need to create a drag and drop or actually a drag and drop instance. Okay, so instance from that class. So we're creating a new object, and then your drag drop operation. Okay, so I think that now actually we can test it out. So let me just compile my code because I want to show you what we did here. Okay, so there are not any errors. So let's now launch our Unreal Engine, and let's wait a little bit. Okay, so now if I open my inventory and pick one of my items, and if I try to drag it, actually it will not work. Actually, let me see what the problem is. Okay, so actually I forgot to basically to store my drag operation inside our out operation, so which will be used to manage the drag and drop process. Okay, so we need just to get this out operation, and we need this out operation, and then equals drag operation. Okay, so now we can finally test it out. Don't forget the semicolon on the end. Okay, so let's launch our Unreal Engine. And if I basically open my inventory and pick one of my items, you will see that actually I can drag my item. So yeah, I can drag the visual representation of the item that I have in my inventory, and you will see that this item widget is basically following the position of my cursor. Okay, but we are just basically doing this weird, we're just getting this weird behavior. We're not, basically we are duplicating the widgets, so when we just drag this widget right here, this widget needs to disappear. So yeah, we need to do that right now, but okay, so let's first close our Unreal Engine, and now we need to go to our inventory component. Okay, so we're just going to declare a new function. So let me see where we are going to do that. Here below public, and that is very important. Don't do that below the protected. So we are going to name it. Actually, I'm going to name it remove item. You can name it. You can give it some other name, and it is just going to take in a parameter that will be a type of item base class, and it will be just basically item to remove. So basically when we drag that item from our inventory, the item needs to be removed from our inventory. Okay, so you get the point. We are just going to create a definition for that function in order to create the logic for that function. So the first thing that we are going to do is basically check if our item to remove is valid. Okay, and the next thing that we need to do is basically we need to loop throughout our items array. So the items array where we are basically storing the items that we have in our inventory, and that is this array right here. Okay, so we need to loop throughout that array. The first index will be 0. Okay, the last index will be basically the number of the items that we have in our inventory, or basically the size of our items array. And basically we're just going to increment the index by 1. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is basically do a check. So we need to check if our item at that specified index is equals to the item that we want to remove. Okay, so basically the item that we are passing in is basically the item that we want to remove, and it is basically looping throughout our items array, and every items or basically for each item we are going to check if it's equals to the basically the item that we basically pass in when we called our remove item function. Okay, so basically if it is, we're just going to set the item at that specified index to be not that, to be a null pointer. So yeah, now it will be basically empty slot, and now we can go back to our item widget header, or actually cpp, and now the next thing that we need to do is basically call that function. So let me see if we actually have the, okay, so actually we have the character reference, and throughout that character reference we are going to get the inventory component reference, and from that inventory component we are going to get our remove item function. Okay, so now we need to here when we are detecting our drag, we need to call that function. So we are going to do that before our out operation equals to drag operation. Okay, so we're just going to get the character reference, and then we need our inventory component, and then we need a function that is called remove item. And the item that we are going to pass in will be actually, let me see, the payload from this drag operation variable. That is basically instance object of our drag drop operation. So you may be asking what is basically that payload. So in Unreal Engine's drag and drop system, the payload refers to the actual data being transferred during a drag and drop operation. So basically we are transferring some kind of data when we are dragging the object some kind of item in our inventory, and for example, it can be a reference that is basically referencing to that item that we have in our inventory, and all of that data that is stored in that item is going to basically get transferred throughout our drag and drop operation. So it is stored in the payload variable of this drag and drop drag drop operation class. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do will be basically here above our calling of our remove item function. So we need to get this drag operation, and then we need to get the payload variable. And this payload variable, like I said, is data being transferred of our item that we are drag and dropping in our inventory. Okay, so we're just going to type equals to be the item that we are adding, or basically that we have added in our inventory, and that is this item right here. Okay, but it is actually a local variable because we are declaring it inside the refresh function. So we need to change that. We are just going to delete this a item base, and here in item widget header we are going to do that here below this character reference. So we're just going to type a item base item, and don't forget to actually import that class. So we're just going to type here class a item base above this u class. And if we go back to our item widget.cpp, here in our calling of our remove item function, we're just going to pass in the item. Okay, so basically the reference of the item that we have in our inventory. And now I think that we can test it out. So let's just compile our code. Okay, so actually our code has failed. So let me see what is the problem. Okay, so I see what is the problem. I just mistyped here 2 equals, but we need the 1 equal because we want to set the item at that specified index to be a null pointer. Okay, so now let's just build our code again, and let's see what we did in our Unreal Engine. Okay, so if I basically start my simulation, and if I open my inventory, if I pick my item, if I pick one of my items, and basically if I drag it, okay, so basically I'm getting the widget, I'm basically dragging the item that I want, but this widget right here is not disappearing, and let me see why. I assume that I know what is basically the wrong, and yeah, I actually know that is because we are actually not removing in the backend. We actually removed the item that we want, but we didn't remove basically the widget of our item that we had for now in our inventory. So we're just going to get the reference of our item widget, so we need to type this. So this, by typing this, we're getting the reference of our item widget. We're just going to type remove from parent. Okay, so now finally we can test it out, and now we can see what we actually did with this code right here. Okay, and I'm going to explain this code right here again, so don't worry about that. And if I open my inventory, if I pick one of my items and if I drag it, yeah, you will see that basically the item has disappeared from our inventory, and that item that has disappeared is basically removed from our inventory, and that item I'm dragging, and now I can do something with that item that I'm dragging. So basically I can drop it on the floor, or basically I can back it to our inventory, but if you take a closer look, I don't have the implementation, or basically we don't have the logic for these two behaviors yet, but we're going to do that later. Don't worry about that. So now, finally, I think that now we can do the last thing for this part. So that thing that we need to do is basically dropping the item that we dragged from our inventory to the ground. But before that, I want to explain you these lines of code again. Okay, so basically I don't need to explain this. This is basically the override function. So we need to basically get from the super class, we need to get the native on drag detected function, and basically pass in these parameters. Okay. When we are dragging, or basically when the drag is detected of our item widget, or basically the item that we want to drag in our inventory, we are setting it to be the standard color of our item. Okay, so you can play with these values in order to test it out, what this line of code is actually doing. Okay, so now we are basically creating a new instance of object of our U drag drop operation, and we are storing it inside our drag operation variable. That is a type of U drag drop operation class. Okay, so basically in our drag and drop system, we are getting the variable that is called the default drag visual, and basically that drag visual is the widget to display when we are basically dragging the item. So that will be the widget that we are displaying when we are dragging our item that we want, and that item will be, or basically that widget will be this item widget right here, or basically the item that we are dragging. Okay, now we are getting the payload from our drag operation variable. We are getting the payload, or basically the data that is being transferred when we are dragging that item from our inventory, and basically we are initializing it to be the item variable that we have declared here. Okay, and we are basically initializing that variable right here. We are casting to the item that we basically we added to our inventory. Okay, the next thing that we are doing is basically we are removing the item that we dragged from our inventory. So when we dragged from our inventory, we basically want to do something with that item, and now we have some free space in our inventory. In that moment, when we are dragging that item, we don't have basically we are removing that item from our inventory, and here when we have typed out operation equals drag operation, basically we are storing the drag operation inside our out operation, which will be used to manage the drag and drop process. And here when we are dragging, or basically when our drag is detected, we are removing the widget that or basically the visual representation of the item, or basically the widget for our item that we are dragging from our inventory, because we have removed our item in the backend, or basically from our items array, and now we need to do that visually. Okay, so we are doing that in this code, in this line of code right here. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is basically go to our inventory widget.cpp. Basically here we are going, or basically now we are going to implement the logic for drag and dropping our item that we are dragging on the ground. So yeah, basically when we drag our item that we want to drop, we are going to basically to drag it and drop it on the surface of our inventory widget. So yeah, our inventory widget, when we basically just open our inventory, is taking the full screen, our full screen. So yeah, you get the point. Okay, and we need to basically declare a new function, or basically that will be an override function. So let's go to inventory widget.header, and here we need to type virtual bool. That function is called native on drop. Okay, and here we need to pass in some parameters. I'm just going to copy and paste them from my other project, but I will say it again. You can basically just find the documentation for these functions and learn something more about them. Okay, so let's just create a definition for that native on drop function. And the first thing that we are going to do is basically delete this return false, and we need to check if basically the payload, or basically we need to check if the payload that we are dropping on our inventory widget is valid. Okay, so we need to type in operation and then payload. But first we need to basically include our drag drop operation. So let's do that right now. Include blueprint. Okay, drag drop operation. This payload right here that we are going to drop on our inventory widget is basically this payload right here. So have that in mind. Okay, actually if you want to understand better, you can just print a string that will show the name of basically this payload right here by using the getName function. So yeah, you can do that in order to see how it works. Okay, and now we need to create a logic for basically spawning the item when we drop the inventory. So we need first to declare two variables. The first one will be a type of f vector, and that will be a spawn location of our gun. Okay, or basically the item that we are dropping on the ground, and we are going to do a simple calculation. So from the character reference, and actually we don't have a character reference. Okay, so for now I'm going just to delete this, and we need to cast to our character reference in order to get some functions that we are going to use for the calculation of our spawn location. Okay, so let's go to our .header file, and basically we are going to do that here below protected. Okay, so we're just going to type a grid inventory character. Okay, so I'm just going to name it character reference. Okay, we need to import this class right here, so just type class and then a grid inventory character. Okay, And now let's go to our .cpp file, and first we need to include basically grid inventory character, okay? And now here in the native construct we need to basically cast to our grid inventory character, okay? So we're just going to get the character reference and we need to type equals cast, and now less greater, and in between them we need a class that we are casting to. So that will be this class right here, and on the end we need basically a reference to our character. So the reference for the reference we are going to use a function that is coming from our Kismet, and then gameplay statics library. So yeah, here for the reference we're just going to type u gameplay statics and then get player character. Okay, so the first parameter that we need to pass in will be a world context, or basically the world where our character is, and the second one is player index. So let's just type here get world, okay, and we are just going to pass in 0 for the player index, and now we can basically declare a variable that will be our spawn location, and we need to do a simple calculation. So we are going to get the character reference and we are going to get the get actor location function, okay, and we are going to add it to basically character reference and then get actor forward. Actually, let me see my other project. Okay, get actor forward vector. Okay, and we need to multiply that by 200. So yeah, have that in mind. Okay, so the next thing that we need to declare, or basically the second variable, will be basically spawn rotation of our item. Okay, so that will be a type of f rotator. Okay, and I'm going to name it just spawn rotation. Okay, so equals, from the character reference we need to get actor rotation. Okay, and now we declared these two variables that we are basically going to use, but there is actually another variable that we need to basically declare. So basically that variable is the way our item is basically going to spawn. So yeah, you'll get the point. We're just going to type f actor spawn parameters. Okay, so that variable will be a type of f actor spawn parameters class, and I'm going to name it spawn params. Okay, and below that we need to basically get that spawn params, and we need to get spawn collision handling override, okay, variable, and we need to type equals spawn actor collision handling method. Okay, and from that we're going basically to get this adjust if possible, but always spawn. And like I said, this is the way our item is basically going to spawn. And the last thing that we are going to do is basically to create another variable, but that declaration is not going to be here in the native on drop. Okay, so we're going to do that here in the inventory widget header. Okay, so we're going to do that here. Let's do that below the public. So we're just going to type a item base. Okay, and we're going to name it spawned item. So basically that will be an item that we are spawning on the ground, but we need to import this class right here. So let's just type class and then a item base. Okay, so what I did here. Okay. So now we need to type or basically initialize that spawned item variable equals. We need to get the world in order to get basically spawn actor function. Okay. Actually we need less greater sign, and in between them we need a class, or basically a type of class that our spawned item is going to be. So we're just going to pass in a item base, but before that we need to include item base. Okay, so let's just do that. And now basically we need to pass in first the item that we are going to spawn, and that item is going to be basically this payload. But actually we need to pass in the item that we are going to spawn, but actually a class of that item that we are going to spawn. So we can do that by here typing get class. The next thing that we need to declare will be, or basically pass in, will be a spawn location. Okay. The next thing will be basically the spawn rotation. And the last thing is going to be basically spawn params. And just like that. If our payload is valid, we're just going to return true, and if it's not, we are just going to here return the false. Okay, return false. So yeah, now I think that we can finally test it out. So let me just compile my code. Okay, so here we are in our Unreal Engine, and if I just pick my item, and then if I go to my inventory, or basically open my inventory and basically drag and drop, you will see that our item is spawned, but it is basically in the air, so we need to fix that. Okay, so let's go to our native on drop function. And here for the spawn location, we need to basically multiply with the value of f vector. So I'm just going to hard code it. You can declare a separate variable. So we need to type 1, 1, and 0. So basically we are going to, for the x value, we are getting the same x value for the spawn location. For the y value, we are getting the same the same value of this spawn location, and for the z value we're just basically going to get the 0 for our spawn location. So now we can test it out. Let's first compile our code, and our live coding has succeeded. And if I just pick my item up and then drop it, you will see that again my item is actually in the air, but let me just close my Unreal Engine, and let's basically compile the code here in the code editor. So let's just launch now my Unreal Engine. Okay, so here we are. Now if I finally pick my item up, and if I drop it, you will see that our item is on the ground, so we have succeeded with spawning our item. And if we try to pick that item up, you will see that our item is not adding. So let me explain you why. Basically we are spawning the same item that we have here, and here in the editor we are setting up some data for that item, but when we are doing this line of code right here, so spawn actor, okay, so this line of code right here, we are basically spawning the instance of our item. So what I mean by that, we are just going to, let me just show you, let me just go to my blueprints. We are just going to create an instance of our item that is not going to have any data remembered inside of that new item that we have spawned. So basically that is this right here. If I drag one of my items, you will see that here when I click on that item, you will see that all of our dimensions, x value of our dimensions is 0, also for y value is 0. There is not the icon that we want for our item. So yeah, that is the problem that we have now. And the way that we are going to fix that is we are just going to basically for the dimensions and for the icons we are going to pass in the default values that we want for those for basically each item that we have in our code editor. So we are going to do that inside our code editor. So let's go to our code editor. Okay, let's go to our IB underscore AK47 dot header. And the first thing that we are going to do is basically here we are going to type public, and we need to declare a constructor for our AK47 class. Okay, we need to create a definition for that constructor, and here we need to type dimensions. So we are going to create a default values for our dimensions. So here we are just going to create the default values, the default value for our dimensions variable, or basically the default how many space is going to our AK47 take in our inventory when we pick it up. So let's just type dimensions equals f int point, and it is going to take a space of 5 columns and 2 rows. The next thing that we need to do is basically set the default icon for our AK47 class. And the way that we are going to do that is basically type static. We need to get constructor helpers, and from that constructor helpers we need f object finder. So basically we are going to we are going to try to find that icon throughout a path that we are going to pass in. So before that we need to type these less greater signs, and in between them we need to pass in a type of or basically a type of class that of that thing that we are finding throughout that path. So it will be a type of view material interface, because we are trying to find our icons. So we are going to that thing that we are basically finding store inside our item info. Okay, so just type item info, or you can call it you can give it some other name, and now we need to pass in the path of the thing that we are finding. So let's go to our Unreal Engine, and here in the material icons folder we need to get a path from this AK47. So right click on that material instance, and we need to click on this copy file path. So let's just close our Unreal Engine, and we are going to paste that path. And the thing that we need to fix is basically delete all of this. Here we are just going to type slash and then game, and on the end we are going to delete this .u asset. Okay, and after that we are just going to type if our finding of our item has succeeded. So if it's succeeded, and if it's succeeded, we are just going to initialize our icon variable that is declared inside our item base parent class. So this is this variable right here, and this is this variable right here for our dimensions. So this right here, you get the point. It is going to take a size of 5 columns and 2 rows for our AK47, but we are going to pass in some other default values inside other classes. So here we need to type icon equals item info dot object. Okay. Okay. And now I think that we can finally test it out. Let's just compile our code and let's launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, now let me just pick one of my items, and if I drop it on the ground you will see that it is spawned, and if I pick it up you will see that our item is added. So yeah, our icon is shown up, and now again we can basically drop it on the ground and again pick it up. And if we try to add some other items, you will see that it is corresponding correctly with other items that are added inside our inventory. Okay, so now we need to do the same process for other classes. It will be the grenade class and the knife class. Okay, so here we're just going to copy these few lines of codes, and we need to go to our ib underscore grenade dot header. Here we need to type public, and below that public we need to declare a constructor for our grenade. Okay, and now we need to create a definition for that constructor. We are just going to paste the few lines of code that we have declared. Here I'm just going to change the space that is our grenade is going to take. So it is going to take one column and one row, and we're just going to pass in the icon to be mi underscore grenade. Okay, and we need to do that for our ib underscore knife class. So here we need to type public, and then we need to declare a constructor for our knife class. Okay, so iab underscore knife, and we need to create a definition for that constructor. So let's wait a little bit. Okay, and we need to paste it. It is going to take one column and two rows, and here I'm just going to type knife. Okay, and now we can just compile our code, and we can basically launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, so if I basically begin this simulation, and if I pick each of my items, I'm just going to drop my AK, and it is going to be added correctly inside our inventory. If I drop my grenade, it is also going to be added correctly, and if I drop my knife, it is also going to be added correctly. And if I pick all of my other items, you will see that they are added correctly, and they are corresponding to each other correctly. And that is all that we had, all the work that we had for this part. We have did incredible work for this part. In the next part, we are going to create basically the drag and drop logic, and let me see what I mean by that. So here we are just going to create a drag and drop logic inside our inventory grid widget. So this is this right here. So for example, if I have my item at these 10 tiles, I want to move that item on, let's say, these 10 tiles. And we are just going to create a logic that is going to basically change the place of our item, or basically it is going to change the place of that item that we want, or basically that we are dragging item at that specified space, of course, if there's enough room. And also the second thing, and basically the last thing, is going to be the rotating of our items inside our inventory. So yeah, that will be basically the last thing, and the next part is going to be the last part of this small course. Okay, so I don't have anything else to say. Just don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like. And the most important thing that I have for you, if anything is unclear, don't forget to comment down below, and our team is going to help you. So see you in the next part.